Any guesses what this is? So I kind of think this show might have also been a Sunday show. I don't remember for sure, but I kind of think it might have been a Sunday show also. And or it ran before or after The Wonderful World of Disney. Is that right? It's funny now, all the stuff that's popping in my head as we're looking at these together. So this was Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. This show ran for 25 years from 1963 to 1988. So I did see a lot of those shows when they first aired. And it just covered wildlife. It was a wildlife documentary type show, but it had the two men that they showed in the beginning. Like Jim Fowler was on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson a lot, and he would come on and bring exotic animals and big cats, and those are all hilarious because Johnny's reaction to most of them was hilarious. And Jim just had a very even-keeled, mild manner that made it a treat to watch him with these, you know, some of these animals that could kill you if you didn't know what you were doing. And he just was such a gentle handler and very knowledgeable about the animals. But Marlin Perkins, that was the other person on the show. And again, you recognize these guys, and this is what they were known for. So this wasn't like actors portraying roles. They played themselves on the show, and they just taught people about different species around the world, and you got the blessing and amazing opportunity to learn about animals that most of us will never see in real life. So Marlin Perkins was born in March of 1905, and he died in June of 1986 at the age of 81 due to cancer. Let's just see what else he might have done. Again, he would have just played himself. Oh yeah, that's the only thing listed. So under his acting credits or media credits, whatever, is just Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Let's see. Now, Jim Fowler, again, he did a lot of appearances on the late night talk shows and stuff, particularly Johnny Carson. He was born in April of 1930 and died in May of 2019 at the age of 89 as a result of complications from heart ailments. Well, that's the only thing he was on also. So I think you would recognize him if you saw him. So not a whole lot of about the show stuff I can share with you, other than it was a documentary type show. Obviously it was popular, and I'm not the only one that liked it because it ran for a long time. And let's see, this actually, under the storyline for the show, it said the show ran from 1963 to 1971 on NBC, first on Sunday afternoons and later in primetime. So it was a Sunday show. Reruns were syndicated to local stations in the fall of 1971, interspersed with newly produced shows that were produced until 1988. So in 1985, it says Jim Fowler assumed the host's role when Marlin Perkins' failing health forced his departure. And at that point, he was assisted by Peter Gross. I don't know who Peter Gross is. Oh, but I loved that show. Again, animals. Okay, we'll let this finish, and then we'll go to the next one. I ran it back a little too far because I didn't want y'all to get too much of a peek at the next show. We're kind of moving into the sci-fi era of TV and my childhood now.
Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, starring Richard Basehart, David Hedison, Voyage of the sea.
All right. The submarine Seaview is commissioned to investigate the mysteries of the sea. Usually it finds more problems than answers. And it ran from 1964 to 1968 for a total of 110 episodes. Richard Basehart, who did a lot of other, I think of him as a sci-fi actor. So we'll see when we get to his info whether that's all he did or not. The storyline is that the Voyage chronicled the adventures of the world's first privately owned nuclear submarine, the SSRN Seaview. Designed by Admiral Harriman Nelson, she was a tool of oceanographic research for the Nelson Institute of Marine Research. Though the show is known for its monster episodes, many plots were veiled commentaries of what was happening in the news. Such plot lines as nuclear doomsday, pollution of natural resources, foreign threat, and theft of American technology are all still relevant today. It's a great show. All right, here's some trivia about Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. At first, David Hedison turned down the role of Lee Crane until he learned that Richard Basehart was signed to play Nelson. Again, Richard Basehart was pretty well known in TV and film. James Doohan, who played Lawrence Tobin in Hotline in 1964 and Hail to the Chief in 1964, was offered the part of Chief Sharkey but turned it down because that same week he was offered and accepted the role of Chief Engineer Montgomery Scott of the Starship Enterprise on Star Trek, which started in 1966, and that became his definitive role. Terry Becker then accepted the role of Sharkey. The season 2 opener, Jonah and the Whale, was the first to be broadcast in color. Seaview was redesigned with only one set of observation windows and a hatch for the flying sub, although stock footage was used throughout seasons 2 through 4, showing the sub with 3 or 6 windows. New uniforms appeared also, as well as the flying sub. Over the course of seasons 2 through 4, there were 6 different flying sub models used for filming. The props used in this show, such as the computers and guns, also were used in Lost in Space, The Time Tunnel, Land of the Giants, and Batman. That's interesting. Now let's learn a little bit about these lead actors. So, back to Richard Basehart. Gypsy from MST3K is in love with Richard Basehart. Right. Richard Basehart was born in August of 1914 and died in September of 1984 at the age of 70 due to multiple strokes. David Hedison, that played Captain Crane. Oh, the page is trying to load. Was born in May of 1927 and died at the age of 92 in July of 2019 due to undisclosed reasons. And again, he's somebody that I think you would recognize him. This shows under his acting credits that his last appearance was in a project called Confessions of a Teenage Jesus Jerk in 2017. And then, again, lots of varied genres and TV shows and movies for him. Let's see who's next here. We'll look at this next guy, Robert Dowdell. I don't recognize that name. He was born in March of 1932 and died in January 2018 at 85 years old due to natural causes. Okay, there's that. Let's go back now to see what's next on the list.
Here we come, walking down the street, get the funniest looks from everyone we meet.
Everybody!
Hey, we're the Monkees, and people say we monkey around, but we're too busy singing to put anybody down. We're just trying to be friendly, so come and watch us sing and play, 'cause we're the young generation, and we've got something to say. Hey, hey, we're the Monkees.
Okay, the Monkees. Yeah, we've kind of turned a corner here as far as the sorts of shows that were being produced and the sorts of shows that I really enjoyed watching. I loved this show, and a lot of the shows around this time were similar. They were more lighthearted. They weren't necessarily based on any kind of, legitimate thing. It was just characters having fun or doing crazy things. So the Monkees ran from 1965 to 1968 for a total of 59 episodes, and I mean, they went around in real life. They went around, I think, touring and doing concerts and stuff, even though I'm not sure if they really were all musicians, at least not before the show. So the storyline is that Davy, Mickey, Mike, and Peter are 4 young men in the mid-1960s Los Angeles, California. In mid-1960s Los Angeles, California, members of a struggling country folk rock band looking for their big break amid madcap encounters with a variety of people straight out of TV, film, central casting, with the full knowledge that their very existence is part of a weekly TV series. The real-life young men occasionally discuss off-camera matters with their producer, Robert Raffleson, at the end of some said TV series episodes, and perform a litany of engaging country folk rock songs each week. A little trivia for the show. When the TV series was about to be renewed for a 3rd season, the Monkees wanted to change it from a half-hour sitcom to an hour-long variety show where they would introduce new artists. However, NBC gave the group an ultimatum: stick with the format as it was or be canceled. They stuck to their guns, and as a result, the TV series was canceled after 2 seasons. The 4 members of the Monkees were each paid, you ready for this? $450 per episode of their TV series, which was raised to, you ready for this? $750 for its 2nd season. They received standard royalty rates for their recordings and publishing when they wrote the songs, but virtually nothing for their merchandising. Both Davy Jones and Mickey Dolenz sued Columbia Pictures in the late 1970s, but they had to settle for a payment of only $10,000 each. That blows my mind that anybody on TV at any point, I mean, the horse, Highland Dale from Fury, made $1,500 per episode. That's just mind-boggling to me. The original inspiration for the TV series was the film A Hard Day's Night, starring the Beatles. Strangely enough, when the Beatles made their U.S. debut on Meet the Beatles in 1964, Davy Jones was also on that TV episode as a member of a stage acting troupe performing a scene from Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. The series was filmed on the Columbia Pictures studio lot, and many of the sets and props that were used in it were left over from the studio's series of short films, which the Three Stooges had starred in. The first version of the TV series pilot episode, called Here Come the Monkees, set a new record at the time for the lowest ratings for a TV pilot. A re-edited 2nd version of the same episode that featured Davy Jones and Michael Nesmith's original screen tests at the beginning scored one of the highest test ratings ever. Life is fickle, isn't it? I can't imagine how much more so for people in, entertainment. All right, let's learn a little bit about the Monkees themselves. So Davy Jones, I'm looking to see where he's from. Oh, it'll tell me down at the bottom. Davy Jones was born in December of 1945 and passed away in February of 2012 at the age of 66 due to a heart attack. He was born in Manchester, England, in the UK. Let's see who's next on the list. Mickey Dolenz. Oh, my goodness. One day I'll have fancy equipment. Right. Mickey Dolenz was born in March of 1945. He is still alive and kicking now. His most recent appearance in something was The Zombie Wedding, whatever that is, in 2023. And born in Los Angeles, California, but it doesn't tell me where he's living now. Peter Tork was born in February 1942 and died in February of 2019 at the age of 77. due to complications from adenoid cystic carcinoma. Let's see what he went on to do. His last appearance in something was in the Junior Defenders in 2007. And then, oh my goodness, I don't know if y'all can hear the cat that's crying in the background, but I got a cat crying in my background here. Michael Nesmith. So they all played, you know, they all used their real names on the show. All right, Michael Nesmith was born in December 1942 and died in December of 2021 at the age of 78 as a result of heart failure. He last appeared in an episode of Portlandia in 2014. Okay, what's next on the list, you ask? Y'all knew from the music, right? Okay, Get Smart. Again, another just for fun show. He was supposed to be a spy. That ran from 65 to 70, 138 total episodes, and starred Don Adams and Barbara Feldon. Let's see what the storyline is. Maxwell Smart is a bumbling secret agent assigned by his chief to foil Chaos. Well, Chaos's latest, K-A-O-S, I can't remember what that stands for, latest plans for taking over the world. Invariably, Smart's bumbling detective style lands him in hot water. Lucky for him, his faithful assistant, 99, is there to bail him out. Little did you knows about the show. It also has William Platt in it. I can't think of where else I know him from, but he's very familiar to me. When Don Adams was negotiating his salary, he had his choice between more money per week and no ownership stake in the show, or less money per week and part ownership. Adams chose the ownership deal and never regretted it, considering the series' durable popularity and syndication gave him a regular income even as he struggled with being typecast by it. It's rumored that Agent 99 was originally supposed to be named Agent 69, but NBC censors deemed it to be too sexually suggestive. According to Barbara Feldon, this is not true. Her character was originally to be named Agent 100 because she was 100%, but Buck Henry decided 99 sounded more feminine. This show, how does 99 sound more feminine? This show was the principal inspiration for Inspector Gadget. Anybody remember that cartoon? 1983, of which the main character was voiced by Don Adams and was also a bumbling and inept agent. Also, some of the lines from this show, such as "Would you believe?" and "Sorry about that, Chief," were uttered by Gadget on occasions. When asked how he developed his trademark voice for Agent 86, that's who he played, Don Adams said that it came from watching the Thin Man movies starring William Powell and Myrna Loy. I love those. After hearing Powell repeatedly say, "Asta, Asta," that was the dog, he decided to imitate his voice for the character of Maxwell Smart. Control and Chaos were supposed to be acronyms, but Mel Brooks and Buck Henry never came up with anything for them to stand for. That's why I don't know. So Don Adams and Barbara Feldon worked for Control, but the bad guys were Chaos. And let's see about our actors. Don Adams. Yeah, I can't think of any. I'm sure he did other stuff, but I can't think of anything else. I always think of just this show if I hear him or see him somewhere. He was born in April 1923 and died in September 2005 at the age of 82. From a lung infection. Oh, let's see. I was gonna look and tell you what else he might have been in before or after Get Smart. Just got to get my page to load here. Okay. His most recent appearance in something was in an episode of Pepper Ann, which I think was a cartoon, so maybe it was just the voice. And that was, he was in 19 episodes. Okay, so he was a lead in that. 19 episodes from 1997 to 2000. Let's look at Barbara Feldon again. I know her from plenty of other things. In fact, not so long ago saw her on a, what is that show? There's a British show from back in the 60s. I'll have to look that up. And she plays, you know, the unsuspecting wife of this guy that's cheating on her and is a criminal. She was born in March of 1933. She is still alive now. Her most recent appearance on something was as the mom in a project called The Last Request in 2006. And then Edward Platt, not William Platt. Edward Platt, who played the chief. I might need to replace my cooling fan in my computer again. I did that all by myself, and it's only been maybe 6 months ago. Edward Platt was born in February of 1916 and died in March of 1974 at the age of 58 due to suicide. His most recent TV appearance, around the same time as the show, I guess, he was in 2 episodes of a show called The New Temperatures Rising Show. That ran from 1972 to 1974. So, again, he's very familiar to me, although I didn't see that thing that I just told you he was in between 72 and 74. I'll have to do some digging to figure out where I know him from. Right, next up on my list, another of my favorites.
2 American scientists are lost in the swirling maze of past and future ages.
You know what it is?
During a first experiment.
Who knows what
on
this
America's
is?
greatest and most secret project, the Time Tunnel.
The Time Tunnel.
Oh, great old show. And James Darren was the it guy at the time. So if you watched that show, maybe it was because you were, a fan of his as well. It ran from 66 to 67, only 1 season, 30 episodes, but it was just I love that concept. It's a time travel show. And all of these actors that were in it, I know from lots of other things, but it's still the first show I think of when I think of a lot of them. Storyline for the show was that scientists Tony Newman and Doug Phillips are the young heads of Project TikTok, a multi-billion-dollar government installation buried beneath the desert. They've invented a time tunnel which will allow people to visit anywhere in time and space. While testing the tunnel for an impatient senator, Newman and Phillips become trapped in time and each week coincidentally found themselves at the site of an important historical event, be it the siege of Troy, the sinking of the Titanic, or an assassination attempt on President Lincoln. Sometimes they traveled into the future and battled alien invaders. Anne McGregor, General Kirk, and Dr. Swain are the scientists trying to fix the malfunctioning time tunnel and bring Doug and Tony back to the present. Again, it starred... Oh, we'll do some trivia about the show. It only lasted 1 season, which was the shortest run of all of Irwin Allen's science fiction series. So a prolific writer, and a lot of his work was turned into TV shows over time. The opening and closing theme music was written by the one and only John Williams of Star Wars fame, Jaws and Star Wars and E.T., but it was under the name Johnny Williams. So back in the late 60s, John Williams was calling himself Johnny Williams. This was Irwin Allen's favorite show, even though it was just a 1-season show. After 1 season of good reviews but mediocre ratings, ABC offered to renew the series if producer Irwin Allen would cut his budget by 1/3. He refused and the series was canceled. to be replaced in the fall of 1967 by Custer. I don't even know what that is. Many episodes made extensive use of stock footage from the 20th Century Fox film library, which allowed Irwin Allen to do shows against an epic backdrop that could not have been done on a television budget. So look at all that money he saved them, and they still wanted him to cut his budget by a third. Loved that show. Okay, so our stars, James Darren, All-American Boy, was born in June of 1936. He died in September of 2024, not that long ago. He was 88 years old, and his death was attributed to congestive heart failure. Let's see what he did. Oh, a very popular actor. He was in a show called Lucky. Maybe that's a movie. I think a movie called Lucky in 2017. That's the most recent thing he did, but he was in 5 episodes of Melrose Place back in the late 90s. He was in 8 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, an episode of Silk Stockings, TJ Hooker, so Fantasy Island. Again, he was everywhere. Very popular actor. He was a good actor. Seemed like a nice guy. Robert Colbert, another person that I know from don't know where, but I feel like he was just everywhere for a while. He was born in July of 1931, still alive today. His most recent work, so he hasn't acted in a while, was back in Baywatch in the mid-90s. He was in a couple of episodes of Baywatch. Whit Bissell, also know him from a lot of, I think, the old 50s, late 50s B-film sci-fi movies. Was born in October of 1909 and died in March of 1996 at 86 years old due to Parkinson's disease. And John Zaremba, who played Dr. Raymond Swain. So those two, these last two that I'm giving you, they were like the head scientists that were back at the facility under the desert that was trying to get these guys home. He was born in October of 1908, died in December of 1986, 78 years old, as a result of a heart attack. Let's see who the next one is on the list. This also had, some guest stars. Oh, but Lee Meriwether, she was one of the other, regular doctors on the show. So Lee Meriwether, that again, this had some really famous people in it for the time. Was born in May of 1935, still alive and kicking today, and last did a movie called Love and Debt in 2019. I love seeing that. I love seeing when some of these favorite old actors that are still around still had lots of acting to share with us after whatever they might have been most famous for back in the day. Let's see what we got next. Okay, so I know you may wonder, well, why is this on the list? Because everybody knows about Star Trek, but I know not everybody watched Star Trek. It's one of my all-time favorite old shows. Again, we didn't have a TV when it was, well, we would have gotten a TV right around the time. I think the show may have still been, in its original airing when we first got a TV, because it would have been right around that time. But it really was a big part of my love of sci-fi in general. And obviously there have been lots of iterations of Star Trek, lots of different series based on the Star Trek universe. My second favorite Star Trek is Star Trek The Next Generation. And I think more people are probably familiar with that. Maybe because Patrick Stewart is in it. It may have, he was more well known when that show started than any of these people were when this show started. But I just loved it. I loved the storylines. I loved the cheesy acting and the, all the stuff that people point at and laugh today about this show. I loved it. I saw, I think, all of the movies at the movie theater, because over the course of 10 or 12 years, I think there were big motion big picture motion picture movies. Wow, why am I having a hard time saying that? And let's see, this is a long storyline, so I may see if I can condense it some. A 1960s science fiction action adventure series set in the 23rd century, based around the crew of the USS Enterprise, representing the United Federation of Planets, which included Earth, on a 5-year mission in outer space to explore new worlds, seek new life and new civilizations, and to boldly go where no one has gone before. The Enterprise is commanded by handsome and brash American Captain James Tiberius Kirk, Jim Kirk, played by William Shatner, and he's advised by his two best friends, Commander Spock, played by Leonard Nimoy, last name unpronounceable to humans. Spock's last name, there's a trivia question. I have no idea what his last name was on the show. The ship's half-human, half-Vulcan science officer and first executive officer, i.e. second in command from the planet Vulcan, and American chief medical officer, Dr. Leonard H. Bones McCoy, played by DeForest Kelley. So a whole slew of everybody knows the names of these actors now, in part because of this show, but it had some quirky episodes, it had some serious episodes, and some sad episodes, and some hilarious episodes, and some episodes that had that stuff all mixed together. It ran for 3 seasons, but let's see some trivia about the show. Shortly after the cancellation of the series due to low ratings, see, not everybody watched it. I know you know about it, but you may not have watched it. The staff of the marketing department of NBC confronted the network executives and berated them for canceling this show, which had been one of their most profitable series without anyone realizing it. They explained that although the show was never higher than number 52 in the general ratings, when running the numbers through the replacement of the Nielsen rating system, its audience profile had the largest concentration of viewers 18 to 45. In other words, not only did the show have the most sought-after demographic that television advertisers hunger for, it was also one of the most successful series the network had ever aired, and did even better in reruns. This was more than ample justification to contact Gene Roddenberry with a request to revitalize the show. Unfortunately, this turned out impossible, as Paramount had just cleared out their warehouse of most of the sets and props, and rebuilding them would cost around $750,000. Well, that's nothing today, right? So instead, the studio greenlit Star Trek the Animated Series. I didn't watch that. Although Roddenberry wasn't really interested in doing an animated show, he agreed in the hope that the show would be successful enough to revive the original series, which it unfortunately didn't. Leonard Nimoy recounted to the AV Club in July 2010, the gesture that I introduced into Star Trek, the split-fingered Vulcan salute, we'll call it, that came from an experience, I'm going all the way back to my childhood again, when I was about 8 years old, sitting in the synagogue at high holiday services with my family. There comes a moment in the ceremony where the congregation is blessed by a group of gentlemen known as Kohanim, members of the priestly tribe of the Hebrews, and the blessing is one that we see in the Old and New Testament. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his countenance to shine upon you, and so forth. When they give this blessing, you're told not to look. You're supposed to avert your eyes. I peeked and saw these guys with their hands stretched out. There were 5 or 6 of them, all with their hands stretched out toward the congregation. In that gesture, split-fingered gesture, sometime later, I learned that the shape that hand creates is a letter in the Hebrew alphabet, the letter Shin, which is the first letter in the word Shaddai, which is the name of the Almighty. So the suggestion is that they're using a symbol of God's name with their hands as they bless the congregation. Who knew that? There's your next winning Jeopardy answer or question. When NBC was promoting Star Trek in magazines, all shots of Spock's pointed eyebrows and ears were airbrushed out of the pictures. Oh, because NBC thought that no one would watch the show due to Spock's resemblance to the devil. I never thought of him looking like the devil. I never thought of that character looking like or representing the devil. How silly. However, this concern was quickly invalidated upon the series airing, with Spock becoming not only one of the most popular characters, but also a sex symbol with young female viewers, an audience reaction no one in the cast or crew anticipated. Spock's resemblance to the devil is subtly hinted at the end of Cat's Paw, which aired in 1967, episode 7 of season 2, when McCoy and Kirk say, "I wonder if there are any demons on board this ship," while looking at Spock. Okay, let's see. The series was originally produced at Desilu Studios, the little shout out to Ricky and Lucy there, which was owned by Lucille Ball, or Desi and Lucy rather. I'm thinking of the I Love Lucy show. But Ball heavily advocated for the show, and it was largely her influence with NBC which led to a second chance after rejection of the original pilot. Ball was also said to be a genuine fan of the show and often is affectionately referred to as Star Trek's godmother. Oh, I'm learning stuff about this show, even though I thought I already knew a lot about it. Okay, so our top stars. William Shatner, he's still around. Man, golly, I think, has he been to space? Did he fly in the space shuttle or something? Born in March of 1931, his most recent appearance in a project was as a character named Kirk in a TV miniseries called 765874 last year, 2024. Also in 2024, he was the voice of Keldor in Masters of the Universe Revolution for 5 episodes. 2022, he played the voice of Jimmy Murray in a project called Fireheart. 2021, he talk about still kicking. I know if you're fans of the show that ran on, what network was that? USA Network? Psych? James Rodriguez's show. He plays Juliet's father on that show, which was such a treat to see him, because that's another show that I love that you may not know of, but I only did the 60s and 70s for this one, so it wouldn't be as long as it's going to be. So it wouldn't be any longer than it's going to be. DeForest Kelley was born in January 1920, died in June of 1999 at the age of 79 due to stomach cancer. Leonard Nimoy. Let's get to Leonard Nimoy. Born in March 1931. So obviously he and Shatner were the same age, but he passed away in February of 2015 at the age of 83. Due to end-stage chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So another lung disease. Nichelle Nichols, I think she's still around, isn't she? Oh no, she recently passed away. December, Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura, some groundbreaking casting happening there for her, y'all. Was born in December 1932, died in July of 2022 at the age of 89 due to heart failure. That's a long life. And let's see, I know I want to do at least one more. Let's see. So James Doohan, that was offered that role in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Born in March of 1920, died in July of 2005 at the age of 85 after suffering with pneumonia and Alzheimer's disease. So there's a shout out to my favorite old show, Star Trek. And let's see what we have up for you next. Right, join me tomorrow night for part 3 of my list of forgotten favorites from my childhood, and I will look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. I hope you had a good time. Be safe, be happy, be well, and I love you. Bye, friends.